No way. Oh my goodness, what does this even mean? Is that the number of people? There's so much going on my screen that I've never seen before. It says I'm live. I'm 11 seconds in. Is that the number of people watching? That's the number of likes so far, I assume. What is this? Okay. What's that button? That's end stream. I know what that means. That top chat. There's nothing in the chat, obviously. Pop-up chat participants. Toggle times now. Okay. All right. Say something. Welcome. Never done anything like this. This is man. This is amazing quality, you guys. I have to press the send button. All right. Well, so I've never done a live stream. I don't know if anybody's here. In fact, I think it's pretty likely nobody's going to be here, and this is going to be just a fun test that I did one time, and we're gonna roll with it. So, but it is an opportunity for me to talk about some things. Oh, there's 2 people on. What? Who's here? Benjamin Barnett. Oh my goodness, this is so cool. Welcome. I've never done a live stream. Carol. Oh my goodness. Hi, Caroline. Oh my goodness. This is so cool. So I've never done anything like this. I do have plans though. Don't worry. I'm not like just on here making things up. Oh my goodness, there's somebody else. Who is it? Oh, it doesn't say. But anyway, so there's three of you on now. I'm so unprepared. Now I feel so unprepared. I thought this was gonna be like a test thing. Now you're here. I have plans. We have things we're gonna do, I promise. They're not the fanciest things you've ever seen. Welcome to my studio, by the way. This is my new studio. I'll show you guys around real quick. Hi, hello. I'm glad you guys both came. That's the door that leads to the rest of Erica's apartment. This is a beautiful hutch that is full mostly of our books. I don't know what you guys want me to show you, but there's also a blank wall, a window. Our first wedding gift arrived. You can see it right here. Our first wedding gift arrived today. So there's that. That's what that whole wall is going to be for, is for displaying the wedding gifts. But we've also got tons of other storage. That's like a lot of our camping gears over here. This room's mostly used for storage right now, but it's going to be my studio. And oh, that's awesome. That's still I'm glad you came at all. So and you're super welcome back whenever you're done eating. Tell the whole family I said hi and I love you all and I'm so glad you're alive and stuff. And I wish I talked to you as often as I think about you. But so where did I put that notebook? I just had it in my hand. So here it is. So here's my plan, everybody. Carolee's the only one with a name that I remember or can see, and Ben, it sounds like, is about to leave. But in case Ben's still here, and while you're still here, the plan is relatively simple, which is we're going to open with opening. This is like the rough draft general, like, looks like it'll be a nice art studio. Yeah, it'll be big enough at least for one guy to do some stuff. So it should be nice. And the lighting is actually not bad once I learned how to do live streams with a good camera, because right over there's an actual DSLR camera that's actually pretty nice. So hopefully we'll be able to up the quality pretty quickly once I get things going. And so each live stream, I'm going to do a live stream every week is my plan. And each live stream, we have the first section, which is like an opening saying hi to everybody as they're coming into the chats and stuff. And then the middle section, I'll do something with you guys. Sometimes it will require participation, and sometimes it'll just be you watching me do something while I talk with you guys. And so, like, let's say that's the bulk or the active part, right? That's where I'm doing something, actually doing something on screen. So I have plans to make some different tools. Plans to make a hammer. I've got plans to hang an axe. I've got plans to actually do a lot of the decorating in the building that will go into making the studio super functional. I'm going to do that on camera, hopefully, usually, and so you'll see the studio like kind of come to life as I build more onto it or in it, and then and like I've got furniture that's coming that we'll be putting in here, like I have a workbench and stuff like that. So and then the ending, um, and sometimes I'll be doing drawings or paintings during the activity section, and then there's the ending where we will be uh, uh, making plans for when to do the next live stream. When is the next time that we can do this? When is best for you guys? When is best for me? Or which projects I might work on next? If you guys know what the future projects are as we do this, and then yeah, so that's the three sections for each live stream. I guess I should write that on the top: live stream. Uh, and other than that, I mean, that's a pretty rudimentary plan. I do so. There. That's so we've done the opening. Welcome everybody. That sounds awesome. Oh, I'm glad. I'm so glad you think it's awesome because I have no idea what anybody thinks about it until I start doing it, which is kind of the way most art and like actually most good things work. I guess like nobody can jump on your bandwagon until you've built the bandwagon, right? But anyway, okay, uh, so we've kind of done the opening. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad Ben's going to come back, and I wish I knew who all of you were, but at least two of you. I'm glad you're here. Then, so the next part. This is the filling part. So just so you can see how messy it is in here. Like here we have a stack of pillows. We have tons of framed stuff that needs to go on walls. You're actually sitting on a bunch of tubs full of stuff. So it's very hectic in here. But one of the things I've got is I've got this. Oh, sorry. I've got this, which may not seem like much to you, and it's not much right yet. But if I can find a way, that's what it is. If I hold it down like that, okay. Now I have a thing on which to draw. Oh my goodness, you can see the drawing. Man, I'm sorry the quality is so low, but this is actually working. You can see it. Where did I drop that? So here's the plan. Here's what I'm gonna do. The idea is I'm gonna draw a plan of all the different types of projects. Some of them include the studio itself. Some of them include our studio or projects that I will do in the studio. Some of them are just projects that are not really related to the studio. But this coming year, the theme for this year, I choose a theme for the year instead of doing like what are those goals people do at the beginning of the new year? It's like a New Year's resolution, right? You've heard of that. But instead of that, I'm doing a theme, and the theme is the studio. This is the year of the studio, and so it's basically all about creating a space where my creativity can be productive. Because I've been a very creative person my whole life. I've been a very imaginative person my whole life. I have always had a lot going on internally, and I've never been very productive and efficient about getting those internal ideas externalized into the world for other people to enjoy. So this year is all about creating a space where I can efficiently and effectively be productive in creating those things I imagine. So, but it kind of starts with me and you right now. L- Thinking about all the different projects and avenues and directions and how much I want to focus on each type of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a picture that I think will hopefully illustrate what those different ideas are. Um, and how much of my effort I and time and energy and everything I plan on putting into each of them, so that you understand what kind of focus I am. And this is what the show is really going to be about. At the beginning of at the end of every show, I'm going to be coming back to this plan, this tree that I'm about to draw, to talk to you about what I'm working on, what I'm doing, what you can help me with, or uh, you would like me to focus more on. So anyway, that's what I'm thinking. Are you ready for me to draw? I'll take that as a yes. Okay, here we go. I could use some better lighting. All right, so let's see. Erica, absolutely awesome. I'm glad you're on board. Erica, have you met Erica? Erica, I can hear you.
What?
I can hear you. I can hear me repeating myself back to me from the other room. Erica is apparently the other secret person, just so you know, Carol. Erica's in the other room with the dog, and I could hear myself. I could hear. Come over here, Erica. This is your apartment. Say hi.
Hello.
This is one of my cousins, Carol Lee York. Ben Barnett was on here too, but he had to go to supper. But anyway, so apparently Erica was watching me in the other room.
I wanted to give him views. And apparently I don't have a channel.
A channel? A YouTube channel? Did you use one of my other YouTube channels?
No.
Oh, is that why I couldn't see your name? That's probably it, why. Okay.
You pretty much just didn't have a picture.
Well, Carolee, this is Erica. Erica, this is Carolee.
Hi.
This is Luna, her dog. Hey, Luna. Say hi, Luna. Luna. Say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, I would, but there.
I would, but this room is such a mess. All right, cool. I'm gonna draw now. Unless you have something else you'd like to say or do.
No.
Okay. All right. What?
I thought you needed something.
I did need something. I needed to know I needed confirmation that I was hearing my voice in the other room and wasn't going crazy. Oh, that's funny. Okay. All right. Now we're going to draw a picture. All right. It may seem relatively simple, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, you guys. I'm pretty sure it's going to be fun. Wow, that was way too straight. That was not as straight that was way more straight of a line than I wanted it to be. Okay, all right, well, anyway, so the first line on here represents something relatively simple, which is writing. I'm going to write that down. Writing. Should I say books? Should I clarify that it's books? I'm going to clarify that it's books. I probably don't need to, but I'm going to. Okay. So, first thing on here, it will become the trunk of the tree, and it is the biggest focus of what I hope to use the studio for / hope to use my imaginative skills for. Oh man, this is so much fun. I don't know if you guys are actually excited about this yet, but I am. Okay. So then we're going to have a split off of the tree, which is something similar to writing books, but not quite. Let's do a specific story. Let's do one of the specific stories that I'm writing, okay? So, because the way it works for me, at least, is I'm at least partially writing a lot of different stories, so that whatever I'm thinking about, I can get onto paper. And then as those stories catch wind, then they get more of my focus, and I put more energy into them and get them more fleshed out, if that makes any sense. So let's do one of those stories. We're gonna do let's call this branch the true stories. We'll do this one. The first one we'll do true stories. And so I've got multiple true stories that I'm working on. True stories. Some of them are actually from my perspective. Some of them are from other people. So the biggest one, if I draw it out, what the biggest true story I'm working on right now is. Although, like I said, there's multiple stories. But the biggest one is my dad's life. My dad's life story. What do you call it? Is it a biography or an autobiography when somebody else? No, it's a biography when someone else writes it about them. It's a autobiography when they write it about them, right? So I'm gonna put my dad's David Barnett. Okay, is one of those stories, those true stories. Now, if we were to do, we can do a separate branch now for, and there's another true life story that I plan on doing. And this one is a little bit different than my dad's, but kind of runs in the same vein because it's still about a family member. And it's way down the road. I've barely started working on it at all. I don't plan on doing anything on it for years. But it's still in the back of my head. It's still a project I'm working on. So I'm going to put it way out on the fringes of the branch. And that is my story. Nicholas Barnett. I'm glad you're still here. Hello. Oh, biography. Okay. Thank you. And that's my story. I'm going to put that one there. But I also have a friend. Sorry, I need to do one thing at a time. I also have a friend who has seen my writing and thought to himself that he would like one of his stories to be written by me, which, I mean, that's a huge honor to write his story, because his story, first of all, is an amazing story that deserves to be written and recorded in a book. But also, I was super honored because he's a very highly respected person in my community and in my life, and that is Bruce Christensen's dad, who has an amazing life story that's very unique, and he wondered if I would be willing to collaborate with him and do some sort of project for his dad's story, his dad's life story. But once again, this is not anytime soon that I plan on finishing that project, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't be willing to work on that project in the meantime. There's plenty of projects that I am nowhere near finishing, but that I hope to finish someday, if that makes any sense. And this is one of those type of projects. I keep closing my pens, which is making my life harder. Bruce's dad. It's a crazy story about how he ends up wrongfully in prison, and the way he gets out of prison after, I don't remember how many years, but I think it's like more than a decade. After the way he finally gets out of prison and finally uh, uh, like gets through the system or whatever, he ends up writing a book that proves his innocence, and it's a crazy story. But he never ends up publishing the book because of this and that and the other thing, and so the book never really comes together so much as it becomes like this like hodgepodgey memoir that that Bruce then found years later after all the events. And when he found it, he was like, "Hey, this should be written into a book. It could be written into a book." And I love your writing, so I'd love for you to try and do it, Nick. So anyway, so that's a cool project that I'd like to work on more. Next here, we'll do let's do some fiction now. We've written down a few nonfiction projects. Let's write down some fiction projects. Um, I'm not gonna probably write down all of my different book ideas right now, but we'll at least get hopefully get a few of them on here. Um, and so I'm gonna quick write fiction. And Carolee, what's your favorite like genre? Do you have? We'll see if I'm gonna be right. We'll see if any of my projects line up with what you like to read. What kind of genre do you like to read most in fiction? Oh wait. Oh my goodness, we're already 22 minutes into this. This takes. Oh, wow, it's amazing how fast time flies when you're having fun. This is crazy. Horror and biographies. Well, I don't think I have any that are a mix of those, but I do have at least one horror story. Oh, that's not true. I have two horror stories I can think of, or horror, yeah, horror genre stories in fiction. So the one is also like the most comprehensive world building I've ever done for like a fantasy type story. But first, we'll say I think if I remember right, it's the 8 floors of Cuba. 8 floors of Cuba. And the story isn't super fleshed out yet, but it's based on somebody's experience of an actual hotel in Cuba. And they were telling me about it, and I was like, that deserves some that's crazy. That is some next level stuff. So it's like very very loosely based on a true life story, but the actual story is total fiction. But it's an idea, and I don't know how much I should tell you, but it's about um, this hospital that has 8 stories, and uh, depending on how long it's been since you have had a visitor, as to which story you get moved up to. And so the further up the stories you get, eventually you get to there's a floor. I don't remember which floor at what point or where but there's the people who will never be visited again. There's nobody coming back to visit them, and it's uh, yeah, it's crazy. And so there's a whole branch of this hospital that's just entirely neglected, but full of dying people, and the horrors of what that is like, to be entirely neglected and feel entirely helpless, and yet be fully exposed to whatever it is that you're already going through, which, when it comes to illness, is already, a serious, like, yeah. So it should be. at least if the premise holds true well enough, and if I can write it well enough, hopefully that premise turns out to be really pretty gripping. Hopefully. So, and then the other one. The other one isn't quite like that. The other one is, I think most people would think of more like a fantasy genre, but it is intended to feel, at least somewhat, like it's more from a horror genre in terms of uh, the focus of the content of it. And that one, I don't really have a name for it, really, but the running name for it, or the thing I refer to it as in my own life, is the gnome world. Gnome, yeah, like it's spelled like the garden gnomes you're thinking of, except imagine a world full of adorable, cute things that do horrific things to each other. That's like a lot of what it is. So, um, yeah, there's plenty of explaining that could go into that because I know a lot about that one. But we have a bunch more fiction type stories to. Oh, what sounds like my typical medical experience, to be honest. To my current, yeah, fair enough. I think that's part of what makes a good horror flick good is when there's at least some aspect of it that's incredibly relatable, and in that horror, that's definitely the aspect that's meant to be relatable. Is like, because almost anybody that has had very much exposure to the the medical field and all that stuff at least if it hasn't happened to them, they've at least encountered or bumped into somebody who has had something terrible happen to them, and that story is just like taking that fear that I think a lot of people have and just like cranking up the dial way up. So uh, then okay, so then we've got, and I guess that's fantasy. I should probably write down what genre it's from, but whatever, I didn't do that. But in the same like fantasy sort of uh, what do you want to call it? It's not exactly the same vein per se, but we'll put it along the same vein at least. Is uh, Joro and the Dragons, which is more sci-fi ish, but I mean it involves dragons. So how sci-fi can it possibly be without like it's obviously a very fantasy story. So at least in terms of the way it would seem and feel. Um, what other stories should we put in here? There's a lot of fiction stories. Let's go over to this side. Let's branch away a little bit from the stories for a second and get back kind of to the roots of like some of the art that I've always done, and because we're already this is already 30 minutes, so if we're gonna keep this under an hour, which I would like to, um, but I've drawn pictures basically my whole life, and the studio I plan on building part of it out to facilitate that more effectively, and when I do that, hopefully we will end up with a whole new section of this tree. I think that's my theory. That's my plan, and I'm sticking with it. So let's do something like that. That looks good. And this is going to be physical projects. So let's start off with the studio itself, I guess. studio. Then next up, we'll have drawings, so this year I'd like to start. Uh, I'd like to start selling my drawings on eBay. I tried some this last year, and I learned a few things. Didn't really succeed all that much, but I learned a few things. And one of the things I learned is that I kind of need to have, I don't know if you want to call it an audience, but I need to build up a community around my art, people that appreciate my art. Not only because sometimes they might be the people that want to buy these things, but also because it helps get these things deeper and further out into the algorithms, right? So that these my pictures are being shown to more people. So we're gonna come out here. And then, so things that I'm going to make out of the studio uh, will hopefully be drawings. And one of the things is I'd like to, at least some of the drawings, give away. Oh, word of mouth. Yeah, the value of word of mouth is huge. And so I'd like to give away some of the drawings also to my patrons. So I have a Patreon. I'm planning on rebooting that. I actually, after the live stream each week, I plan on having a live stream on Patreon, although I haven't learned how to do that yet. So we'll get there when we get there. But for now, I'm planning on contacting each of the patrons to talk with them about changing over what type of Patreon I am, because right now it's a per project, and as I branch out into a lot of different more variety of projects, I don't really want to overload them with cost. So hopefully we can switch to a monthly payment for Patreon, and hopefully that'll work for them. I don't know. I'm going to talk to them, and we'll see what they say. And but that live stream will be largely more focused on deciding what direction we go, or I go, what I work on, what I don't work on, that kind of stuff. So, and then we're gonna start putting some roots into this thing, make it a little bit wider, and as we do that, the next branch will be eBay, which I just mentioned a second ago. eBay. Then we'll put the Patreon branch stick on here. But the drawings aren't the only things I plan to make in here. I also hope to make, like I mentioned, maybe some tools and stuff. Some of the tools I plan on making for myself, but if you guys see what I make and you're like, oh, I'll pay you for that, then I'd be more than happy to sell it to viewers. Or if one of my Patreons is like, hey, that's cool, I might make one for them, or what have you. That's one of the types of things I would do as perks for people. So that's like a different branch over here. So we have drawings. We also have tools. So that hammer I mentioned that I'm gonna make. I also know how to hang axes. So some of that type of stuff. Then let's see here. What else am I going to make in this studio? I don't know. I haven't come up with everything I can do yet. Not to mention all the things I haven't learned how to do yet, but can learn how to do. Let me think. We might do. So let's just write down the different types of tools I already know how to do. Hammer. Or that I already have plans to do. Shouldn't say that I know how to do, because there will be new things I'll have to learn how to do. You can make throwing axes. Yeah, I probably could make one. I don't know. Well, I don't know how much I can make one, so much as I know how to hang them. So like putting a new handle on them, like the older wooden ones. If it were a pretty simple design, I could probably cut one. I don't have the tools right now, so but I know how to cut metal, and I could make a throwing one. It wouldn't be like wouldn't be very practical for other uses, I guess. But wait, do you throw axes? Is that a thing you do? Not sure of what all you do. No, yeah, I don't know either. That's the thing, isn't it? It's hard for me to know either. So, hammer, axe. Well, let's see here. So I'm trying to think of what else I do out of the studio, or will do out of the studio. I write tons of poetry, so I might as well put that on this list of things I do. Whether or not I'll end up actually like sharing that poetry and making a book out of it, that's always another story. But it's definitely something I do. Poetry, and if people enjoy it, poetry, then people enjoy it. You know what I mean? So that's the whole point: is coming up with everything I can think of to do and doing it. Awesome. Occasionally, so occasionally you throw axes. That's like Erica. Erica occasionally throws knives and axes. She's very good at it. She's very good at it. Yeah. So okay, trying to think what else. All right, now if we go back to fiction, there is a whole new branch of fiction that we need to add. All right. Have you ever heard of Wasteland Weekend, Carolee? Rock on. Yeah. She's a pretty cool gal. I'm pretty excited to marry that gal. Not much longer either, which is crazy. I mean, it feels like forever, but it also is like happening so quick. It seems so. It's weird. It's weird how that works. The whole marriage thing. Okay, so in fiction, one of the genres that I do a lot of is post-apocalyptic. Post-apocalyptic. I probably spelled that wrong. I probably butchered it so bad. But anyway. And there's quite a few different types of stories involved in that genre. Multiple different sagas at play. So first things first, we have the Wasteland Weekend ones, and this is probably the biggest part of the branch, um, for a couple reasons. Uh, yes, I want to go. I think it'll be too hard in the wheelchair. Fair enough. Not full time, but still, I mean, yeah, it's rough out there, but it looks amazing. It is a lot of things. It is a lot of things, and the people are certainly are. A lot of the people certainly are amazing. The uh, so let's write um, Morning Raven. Morning Raven is one of is the character I play when I go to Wasteland Weekend, and um, uh, he's one of the characters through which a lot of my post-apocalyptic stories get seen. But it looks amazing. So that's a pretty big genre, and from that is why I have the car I do, which is a whole nother branch, which is garage or something. And so then we have Ansley, the Hell, Billy, Honda. It's kind of a mouthful. Thank you. I'm glad. So, and and so out of that, then we have a whole nother thing that comes out of Ansley, which is, have you ever heard of the Gambler 500? It's a it's a it's a rally race, and rally race might be a strong word for it, but it's a rally event where people come together with cheap cars, funny cars, crazy cars, and they do like an event where you have to navigate a bunch of back roads and off road trails and stuff, and you pick up trash as you go. And so but it's an event that I would like to take Ansley the Hellbilly Honda to. I'd like to start going to them here in Texas now that we've moved here. I think it'd be really cool. So, the Gambler 500. So, and it's yeah, so that's a different type of event that I'd like to go to with that same car. Um, let's see here. And then we've got a few other things to do with that car. We've got a little Halloween event here at Keene that involves that car. Um, Halloween in Keene. And that's the bulk of the ideas I have around that. I do have the idea, and I don't know if it'll ever take. Oh, and helping the environment. Yeah, it is, and well, that's part of what I like about it. Um, that makes me want to get involved is that there's more than one aspect to it that all comes together to really, yeah. And then um, let's see here. Post-apocalyptic. We also have, so there's also some post-apocalyptic stories that are not so related to that. Well, one more thing. I have an idea for a business that I don't know if it would ever take off, but if people love the idea, then might as well try, right? Which is Mad Max paint jobs. Um, and so I'm going to write that down. Obviously, the Hellbilly Honda would be one of my flagship vehicles for that. So, Mad Max. And so the idea behind it is we'd only do two types of paint jobs for people's cars, either matte black like Mad Max himself, or all chromed out down to bare metal like the villains, the Immortan Joe and all his gaggle of buddies. So there would only be basically two options, and that'd be I'd call it Hero Black, or I'd call it Villain Chrome. Those would be the two options. Is all. That's the idea for that Mad Max paint jobs. Jeepers, my legs are killing me from kneeling down. Oh, I'm gonna get up a little bit. We'll move the drawing up here. Let's see if you can still see it very well. You can kind of see it, but not really see what I'm doing on it. I'll show you at the end though, so you'll still get to see them all. So let me think. What else? Man, this is so cool. Get your business card out to the right people at Wasteland Weekend. That business could work. Yeah, well, I feel like Wastelanders probably wouldn't actually be my main market, because although they would be my main promotional market, but they wouldn't necessarily be my main market because they're scattered all over the country, and most of us Wastelanders, like true hardcore dust blood Wastelanders, we want to make our own vehicles. We don't want anybody else to make any of it, which is why there's been a couple companies that have done various types of Mad Max related modification stuff, garages that haven't really taken off. I only know of like one guy that's consistently gotten in business. So, but yes, that would be a big part of the marketing for it. Would be connecting with Wastelanders. Speaking of that, so I have plans to continue contributing to Wasteland without going each year. There's a few different reasons why I'm no longer interested in going, or not interested. I shouldn't say that. I'm still interested in going, but no longer going to go. I'll do a separate video at some point about that, maybe some Q&A or something like that. But for now, the main thing is that I still want to be creative about how I can contribute to that community that means so much to me, and that is so full of people that I love. So, and one of the ways to do that is I'd like to start sending people on missions, Wasteland Weekend missions, from the Great 40 Migration, which is a group of people that travel along Highway 40 to get to the event every year, and meeting up with them in somewhere in North Texas, because they come through North Texas. And when I do that, I'd like to meet up with them and give them some missions to go do, and give them some prizes for completing the missions. make them some really cool, badass guns and stuff like that. Um, that's the plan. Um, Wasteland missions. That's probably everything I'm planning on doing for the. If you include that, that's a lot of stuff that I'd like to do for wasteland stuff and post-apocalyptic stuff. Um, we do have more post-apocalyptic to talk about, at least a little bit more. In terms of, there are some other ones. Some of them are, I don't know how much you think about this kind of stuff, but are more related to um, Adventist religious views in terms of like the time of Jacob and the last days. So there's some that are kind of, I wouldn't say they're not explicitly talking about that, but if you're an Adventist, you'll be able to read between the lines and tell that this is about like kind of flushing out our ideas and what it might be like. Um, and It's a series. I don't really have a name for it yet. It's kind of cyberpunky, kind of futuristic. It actually came about from a dream I had originally. Well, I shouldn't say originally, but like over time, a lot of the direction I took it in was because of a dream or two, and uh, I don't have a name for it. I don't know what to call it yet, but we'll just call them. We'll say that it's called like Advent trilogy. Um, and it's multiple different stories that do connect, but yeah. And then let's see here. True stories, studio itself, poetry. There's something I did not mention, um, but I think is important to mention. I know it's 52, so we're getting near the end. We're getting there. We're almost done. I promise. At least for this week. Um, and that is, I'd like to have just a simple garage section, which is um, still physical things I'm making and doing, but uh, more garage related, vehicle related stuff. Uh, and in this section, there are essentially two primary projects. So I'm going to just draw them both out first. And you know what one of them is, obviously, because I've already mentioned it. It's already in one of the other categories. Um, but let's write this down. Garage section. Garage. And in the garage section, we will have obviously Ansley the Hellbilly Honda, the big Honda monster. But then also a project you probably don't know about. Oh, not religious, but I did get ordained. Fair enough, me too. You're the first person I've told. Fair. Oh, I hope I didn't just expose you there, because this is a very public place. But cool. What I was getting at though is that the other the other garage related project, is a project you have probably not heard about, which is kind of why it's exciting. But some people have. Erica's family, for instance, they almost all of them know about it. It's a little truck called. Oh, you're fine. It's a little truck called Little Red, and it was inherited from her grandfather, who's had it for I don't know how long. At some point, maybe I'll tell the whole story. But it's a very cute little. Yeah, it's a little truck that it's red. It's a little Dodge. It's a little Ram. It's called Ram 50. They weren't made for very long. It's kind of a unique truck. It's from 1988. It's fairly well restored. There wasn't a whole lot that was like it's in good condition too. It's been well maintained its whole life. So it's a cool little truck. It's currently yeah, isn't it cute? Well, once you see pictures of it, you'll understand why it's called that. It's just the cutest little adorable truck. And it's currently having some troubles. Uh, we have been using it as a daily driver recently because we had to. Another story for another time. But uh, and now it's busted. So um, that's a story all of its own. But the important part is Little Red is a big project and ongoing responsibility and such. Little Red is the other garage project, and then eventually, I have a snowmobile project. Yeah, you heard me correctly. I live in Texas, but I do have a snowmobile project that I eventually will work on in the garage. This project does not yet have a name because it has not yet started. I own I own it, and that is it. Snowmobile. So we will see if and when that one gets off the ground and I actually start doing things with that. But man, there's a bunch of stuff going on here. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else I missed or that I need to write down. Drawings, tools. I didn't put in paintings because I don't know how much painting. I almost forgot one of my favorite types of projects. Okay, it's at 57 minutes. I promise these are the last two categories. So first things first, I'm going to mention paintings. I don't know if I'll actually end up doing any paintings, but I know how to and I like to, and I would like to get back into it at some point. Um, so here we go. Paintings, studio, and then paintings. I mostly prefer to do oil painting um, on canvas, that sort of thing. Uh, you're always yeah, I have. I've always loved snow. Snow is so much fun, and I mean, we're getting married up in Idaho, and hopefully we'll have plenty of snow, and yeah, we might even be going. Well, our honeymoon is a secret. Our honeymoon is a secret, and I am good at keeping secrets. Not true at all. I am terrible at keeping secrets. And then, but the other thing is, I do love to do and want to do more uh, sewing. So that's one of the things I'll hopefully get some more chances to do here in the studio. I apparently don't know how to spell this thing I supposedly like to do. Sewing. It's interesting. It happened to like. It's interesting. You see the line that comes across here and it says poetry. The line that comes up and says sewing, the poetry line leads to the sewing line. It's almost like those two art forms are more similar than people realize. So I have tons of stuff. I have tons of projects that I've told myself I'm going to do in terms of sewing that I just never get around to doing. And every time I actually do finally sit down and do some sewing, I always love it. And I'm like, I am floored by how much I enjoy it. But I just don't make enough time for it. And hopefully, as this space builds out, I'll make more time for it, and I'll do more of it, and maybe even some of it here with you guys. So, all right. So here we have it. I'll cut it down to size later, and maybe you can make a revised, more clear version of it. But here is the tree of projects, the tree of directions that we will hopefully go. That is the plan. So, yeah, that's all the projects. So the main trunk is writing books. We've got some of the different types of books, but also we have the studio that is being built as part of the project of building books. Is building a studio for me to work in. And out of that studio will also flow all these other types of projects. Look at these. Almost looks like a wing. Does it kind of look like a wing? And then we've got tons of fiction writing to do. We've got some vehicle projects and car projects, which I love that kind of stuff. The metalworking and stuff related to that is always super fun. So we've got a lot of things on the list. I think there's some things I'm forgetting, and I'll hopefully put them on, and you will hopefully see in the future episodes, and in the future live streams, you'll hopefully see some revised versions of this over time as things clear up, and as some of these we might throw some of these away. We might choose to make some of these a bigger focus than they are. And so, yeah, there's that. But then also, I don't know what is the best time of the week for you to do this. What is the best time of week? Well, actually, I have your number. I can call you and ask you. So maybe I'll do that. Or at least I think I have your number. I assume I have your number. I'll maybe call you and ask you what time of week is the best time to do live streams like this, when you would like to watch things like this. And each week we will hopefully make something, and each week we will have an opening, and we'll also have this closer where we kind of decide where we're going in terms of all that stuff. There's also, I'm going to put a link in the description, maybe not tonight, but hopefully tonight, that will give you a link to the Patreon if you'd like to become one of my patrons. And I think I have 3 patrons right now, might be 2. One of them is my mom. Don't tell anybody. That's our secret. But I have 3 patrons, my mom and two good friends. And hopefully we can go from there. I used to have more patrons, but I have dipped off of YouTube at various times, and but I'm excited to be coming back. Oh, I forgot to mention that the reason I'm coming back to YouTube, the reason I'm doing these in the first place, well, it's actually on here, which is writing books. Well, the first book is almost done. It's in its last stage of editing. I have some kinks that need to be worked out in the editing, and then the next step is publishing. So that's what we're doing this for. That's why I'm doing this, and why I'm here, why I'm back on YouTube. So I'm glad to be back on YouTube, but there is a specific reason I think you deserve to know. Mondays or Wednesdays are generally good for me. You can still call if you want. Okay, fair enough. Mondays and Wednesdays are probably the best days for me too. So we'll kind of play it by ear. I know I've got a podcast. Oh, that's one of the things I forgot to put in the tree. But I have a podcast now. We just started a podcast. Obviously, I've got a ton of wedding planning that's going on for the wedding in March, and then but yeah, I've got a new podcast, so that's exciting. Although I actually don't do most of the work related to the podcast. I'm just one of the 2 hosts, but that's fun. I'll leave a link to that in the bottom too, and so I'll try and have a link to basically everything that I'm going to be working on, at least as far as it's online. So, oh man, this was really fun. I enjoyed this a lot. Thank you for making it fun. Thank you for being on here and for being on the chat, and for yeah, this is just so cool. So Next Monday. Does Monday sound good to you? Monday. We have decided, you and I. Monday is the day. So I'll see you on Monday. What I don't know what time of day. I would kind of like to do a little earlier in the day, just because like it's dark outside and I'm not as well motivated once it gets dark. So I think I might try and do it a little bit earlier, like maybe 5ish. But anyway, thank you. Out, over and out. Stay well, hit that bell, and I'll see you when I see you. Yeah, I think that's how it goes.